From director Prashanth Neel comes the Indian action epic SALAAR Part 1 Ceasefire. There is going to be a SALAAR Part 2, and all I know about it is that there's no way it's going to be called Ceasefire, because the way this film goes, by the end of the movie, you've been just clobbered over the head with insane action for its nearly like 5 minutes shy of 3 hour running time, and it gets to the end and it promises, oh yeah, there's a whole lot more of this to come. So this stars Prabhas, who I've never seen, I don't think I've seen in a film before, but is billed on screen as Rebel Superstar Prabhas, which is just badass. So the story here, it starts at a flashback, or it starts in the past, and we keep flashing back to these two kids. One is clearly a more cultured, society, privileged, has status kid, or is the kid of somebody who has status, and his lower class poor friend who's a brawler, who the upper class kid refers to as a maniac, which is great. Here's my friend, the maniac. And the friend is a brawler who the upper class kid has him occasionally. He taps him to say, I got a problem, can you take care of that? And as the film continues in the opening flashback sequence, you see that poorer kid getting ready to defend his home and his mother against bad guys who are coming to take the mother and do terrible things to her and probably burn the house down. The society kid shows up and says a few words and dismisses all these guys. So clearly he has some power. And then he says, okay, I've done this for you, to the poor kid, to the maniac. You and your mother need to get out of town and I'll stay away. And if I ever need you again, I'll call you. But otherwise, go lead a wonderful, peaceful life. And the brawler kid says, sort of nods in agreement, saying, the day you say the word, I'm here to become a maniac again for you. So we flash forward to the future, and said maniac is now working as a very peaceful, nothing can upset him miner in a strip mining town. His mother is the rules with an iron fist, who they refer to as Hitler, a teacher of a school of children of the miners. And somebody places a call to the guy saying, we need you to be a maniac, because some important guy's daughter has been kidnapped in your area. And one thing leads to another, and the maniac is unleashed, and it becomes insane action. I will say I didn't love how the action was conveyed in this film. I didn't love how it was shot. It had a very Zack Snyder-y look to it. It was very toned down color and kind of high contrast, and a lot of slow motion, and which I don't mind so much. It enhances the badassery a lot of the time, but a lot of the action is kind of sloppily done, or kind of it doesn't follow through on the shots. Like, you kind of see that he's doing something to somebody, and then it's slow motion of the person hitting the ground. I like more visual flow in my action personally, but some of the action is crazy. It's very gory at times. There are a lot of beheadings, there are a lot of behandings. There is one thing I can only describe as a human shish kebab, which was very impressive, which results in he shish kebabs like 8 guys or 6 guys or 4 guys or more than 2 behind him, and we get a shot of our hero being manly, and in slow motion all their arms swing up and they all have been holding sabers, and it basically makes him look like one of the multi-armed Indian gods. I thought that was a pretty cool touch. It's this weird story of this world where these multiple tribes or multiple cultures came together at some point and had a ceasefire and agreed that they would rule over the land as crime lords, and something is upsetting that balance of power. Something is upsetting the titular ceasefire, and our friend Prabhas is caught in the middle of all this, and he's like Bruce Lee. He doesn't want to fight. I promised I wouldn't fight. I promised my mother I wouldn't fight. But when mother gives me the tap, you guys are all going to be killed really soon. So, I've never seen a Bollywood. I tend to say Bollywood. I've never seen an Indian film I didn't like. This one I didn't love, but it was very well made. This is one of the few where I did start to feel the length, because I kind of lost track of what was going on. It gets to a point where you're dealing with all this really complicated, let's call it political machinations and double dealings and treaties, and it starts to become a lot of, it's a lot of characters. Here's a whole lot of guys whose names I kind of caught, and the names are all, not familiar sounding to me. So I'm having a hard time remembering when they start talking about people. We got to take that person and do this to them and do that over there. They start throwing around the names of cities or regions or tribes or guys, and I started to kind of lose track a little bit. So rest assured that if you're watching the film and you lose track of who's who and what's what, there's a lot of killing to come. So that sorts it all out. And I did realize as it was going, I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily need to know what's going on throughout every moment of this film because it'll all make sense in the end. And it did. There's a wonderful sequence where one of the bad guys has basically taken a whole bunch of the miners from this town, or a whole bunch of the villagers, or whatever you want to call it, from where they live, citizens, and imprisoned them, and through mental torture turned them into essentially like human zombies, living zombies, mad dogs, they refer to them. So they just unleash these mad dogs, and it's like a Zack Snyder running zombie attack that these guys, our superstar and his old boyhood friend, after they reunite, have to try to fight and survive through. And it's just crazy. He's like an Indian John Wick or Rambo, where he just takes everybody out. It's like an army against one guy's, and just mostly in slow mo, he's just taking everybody out, and it's something, you know. It is, you know, never would I say an Indian film does not give an audience its money's worth, because boy howdy. 3 hours, which again, I don't mind. 3 hours of entertainment, super stylish. The film does jump back and forth in time. About half the film is told in flashback, when there's that flashback I told you about the beginning with their boys, but then it goes back to flashback on how these two guys sort of grew up and had other dealings before now. So it bumps back in time for a while, but as I say, it builds to what is going to be an insane sequel. So hopefully the sequel comes out in America. I was able to see this in a theater. I'm sure it'll be streaming eventually on some service, but I was kind of hope that when these films have sequels that I can actually see them in the theater in a timely manner. So in theaters currently, it's going to be streaming probably by the time you hear me say this, or if you're watching this down the road. SALAAR Part 1, Ceasefire.